we're going to start with an introduction to the library. So, as an introduction to the library, we're going to look at different things that the library can help you with or services that we can provide you with. To start things off, I would like to highlight the existence of principal librarians. So each faculty or the faculties have someone that is dedicated to assisting the group of students within those specific faculties. For the faculties of commerce, pharmacy, and science, the relevant contact person would be Ms. Thandiwe Menze. And then for the faculties of education, humanities, and law, the relevant contact person would be myself, in this instance, Sanda Nyoka. I've included our email addresses there. You have the option to email us, but there's also other options such as booking consultation appointments with us as well. So we offer support on different services. We offer information services related support where we can help you with finding information, that is locating relevant sources for your study or your research. We can also assist you in evaluating information wherein you assess the quality and credibility of the sources. We can also assist with assignments whereby we provide direct support. And I like to often say to our students that we will not give you the answer on a silver platter, but we will ensure that we equip you with the right research strategies as well as the resources that can allow you to answer to your research question or to complete a specific study. The library also offers research support related services, and this is mostly offered by our digital scholarship unit, wherein they help with measuring research impact, where to publish, advice on where to publish, the creation of ORCID IDs and having them linked to your RU profile, as well as the creation of data management plans. Now, we also offer support or services on training and electronic learning, wherein we offer training sessions on database searching, how do you go about preventing plagiarism, referencing, and other training areas. With regards to training, the library is also offering postgraduate training sessions. We also provide individual and groups training sessions. So if you'd like to have a personalized session, particularly focusing on your specific topic, you have that option to make up an appointment or set up an appointment with your principal librarian. We also have created online help guides, which we often refer to as subject guide and are very useful for the students. The library also offers collection development services, wherein we're responsible for facilitating the purchase of new materials, overseeing our subscriptions, and ensuring that our students or university community has access to these resources. Now, some important information for our postgraduate students. You can borrow a total of 20 books for a period of 8 weeks as a master's or or PhD student. These books can be renewed for up to 3 times. After the 3rd time, you'll have to bring the books back to the library. We also have a dedicated research commons that is for postgraduate students. Now, after having alluded to all of this, if there's anyone in the postgraduate group that does not reside in Grahamstown. For an example, if we have any students that reside in Pretoria, KZN, Cape Town, I would strongly recommend that you liaise with your principal librarian in order to obtain a letter of introduction. So what a letter of introduction does is that it will allow you to have access to a university library that is closer to where you live. You'll be able to use that specific library. You'll also be able to borrow materials from that specific library. But you'll need to first fill out the letter of introduction, send it back to us, and then we'll send it back to you. So if there are any students that do not reside in Grahamstown, please do take note that you do have the option to obtain a letter of introduction. So even with the letter of introduction, you'll only be able to borrow books from that specific library or to make use of their spaces. But for research support, you would still contact your relevant principal librarian. Now, as part of the introduction to the Rhodes University Library, the first and starting point is the library website or discovery platform. Now, our platform can be accessed via the Rhodes University website. It can also be accessed through a simple Google search for Rhodes University Library. And please note that this is the first and probably the last time you'll hear a principal librarian saying that you can conduct a Google search for something. You can also access the library's website by using our URL ru.ac.za/library. So the library website will allow you to search for a number of different sources. You can search for articles, you can search for journals, you can search for books. You can also search by a specific author. The new platform is a platform that we migrated to earlier this year, and it comes with what we call Primo AI Research Assistant. So the Primo AI Research Assistant is a platform that we've also been showing to our students for a number of reasons. One of the reasons being that it is a trustworthy platform that students can use if they want to get an overview of the type of sources that are available or sort of a scoping search before they start with their research. So what the Primo AI Research Assistant does, you can ask it a question, and after you ask it a question, it will provide a number of sources that you can consult, and then it will, alongside those sources, give an overview of the sources. We are going to look at it when we do a practical illustration. So apart from the option, which is to search for books and accessing the Primo AI Research Assistant, there's a number of other things that you have access to. So on the library's website, where I have boxed the information that says I want to. That is also an important entry that you can make use of on the library's website. Here you'll be able to ask a librarian, but you might not be using this because you will know who your principal faculty librarian is. You'll have access to their email address and to booking consultations with them. But some of the important things here under I want to is the option to access your subject guide and the option to log into your library account alongside requesting an interlibrary loan. So those are amongst the three most important things that you would use or get access to through the library's website. Now, I alluded to subject guides as one of the important things that you would access from the library's website. So subject guides are curated according to discipline. You'll typically find links to the specific databases that are most relevant to that particular field. For an example, if you go to the law subject guide, there you'll find curated databases that are specific to the discipline of law. And you'll also find some key book recommendations as well as part of the subject guide. You'll also find the contact information, the names and emails of the subject librarians that specialize in that specific area. But again, there's also guidance on formulating search strings or search strategies. And I would recommend that you have a look at your subject guide. Each discipline has a subject guide that's dedicated or catered for their need. So I also mentioned that apart from wanting to access your subject guide, you also have the option to access your library account. So if you click on the option to access your library account, you're going to be asked to log in. Now, with the migration to the different platforms, as well as the authentication process being Open Athens, a lot of our resources are accessed differently than was the case previously. Previously, students could use their surname, their PIN, and a barcode. So now, in order to access our resources, whenever it is that you're asked to log in or to sign in, please make use of your Rhodes University email address and password. And should you encounter any challenges are problems when trying to access our resources, please contact your designated principal librarian for assistance. We're now going to head over to the library's website for a practical demonstration of some of the things that I had mentioned during the presentation. So one of the things that I had mentioned was the fact that the library's website is accessible using two ways. It can be accessed from the university's website. It can also be accessed through a simple Google search. But on the library's website, we have the option to search all. And the search all option is where I had alluded that it will allow you to search for books, it will allow you to search for an author, it will allow you to search for journal titles as well as journal articles. I'm just going to do a simple illustration for books on research methodology. So I've searched for books on research methodology, and there you'll get to see where we have the resources available. So after doing your search, it's very important to pay attention to the fact that you have filter options at the top. If you specifically are interested in books, you can use that filter option for books. If you are interested in journal articles, you also have the option to filter by articles. Now, we often recommend to our students or let them know that when you are searching for resources, books in particular, it's very important to pay attention to its availability. Some of the books will be available in print in the library. Some of the books will have them available in both print as well as electronic format, whereas some of the books will only have available in print format. Some of the books we are unable to acquire them in electronic format, largely because of the business models that the publishers use, and in some instances, the publisher models that they use allow us as an academic library to buy such a book. But in some instances, it will happen that the price of the electronic version will be 3-4 times the price of the printed version. So there are different factors that contribute towards whether or not we have access to a book. And as students conducting research on a postgraduate level, I would strongly recommend that whenever it is that you're doing your research and you come across a book that you feel will be very useful for your studies, I strongly recommend that you reach out to your principal librarian to recommend that specific book so that they can assess if we can purchase such a book or recommend similar books that can be very useful for your research still. So it will also happen that as you conduct your research, if you are trying to look for resources and cannot find a specific resource that you're looking for, this will touch on the third aspect that I had alluded to beneath the I want to options. So we also had the option to request an interlibrary loan. An interlibrary loan is when we do not have the resource at Rhodes University, but make use of an interlibrary loan to borrow it from an institution that has the resource. For print books, it will be at a cost of 30 rands to the student, but for journal articles, it is mostly at no cost unless it's sourced internationally. So you have that option as well. So with the books, I'd mentioned that it's important to pay attention to the location. For an example, this specific one says it's available at Main Library Science Books, Level 2. Then it gives you a number and the 3 letters next to the number. So important details or information that you need to take down, it's the number as well as the 3 letters next to the number. After having noted the location, the title, and confirming the author. We also strongly recommend that you have a look at what the record is identified as. We've had instances where students will see a book review and assume that it is somewhat related or a representation of the actual book. So please ensure, especially when you're searching for a specific book, that what you have or what you are accessing is indeed the actual book. So I'm going to make an example now with this third record here, which is a book, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, Traditions and Innovations in Research Methodology. So if a book is available electronically, it will have the available online option. And with the available online option, what you do is you click on available online, and then it will take you down to a text that has full text availability. So beneath full text availability, you then click on the link that's displayed there. Now, a disclaimer, if it is that you're trying to access a resource that is available online and the link does not work, I strongly recommend that you go directly to the actual database in order to be able to access the book. You can also report it to us so that we can make follow-ups to find out what the problem is. So I'm going to click on the link and let's see if we have access to this. Right, so it's asking me to authenticate. It's asking that I select an authentication source. So I had alluded during the PowerPoint presentation that previously students would make use of the surname, the PIN that they would have received from the library, as well as the barcode. But now the authentication process is different. So here I'll go with staff. It might not ask me for my email address, but might automatically sign me in. But if you're signing in for the first time, it will ask you for your email address, Rhodes University email address, as well as your password. So this is an electronic book here. And when accessing an electronic book, we like to draw your attention to the publisher permissions. For an example, this specific book, our institution has unlimited access to this book. You can download a total of 81 pages. You can copy a total of 41 pages. You can also read the book online or download specific chapters from the book. So with publisher permissions, some of the books you'll find that we only have one user access at a time, or with other books, you'll find that we have access for 3 simultaneous users at the time. So before you try and download or access a book, please do pay attention to the availability information or the publisher permissions that would have been listed as part of that book. We're now going to go back to the library's website. And I also alluded or mentioned the Primo AI Research Assistant as one of the tools that the library has access to. So with the Primo AI Research Assistant, there is an option at the top to access the Research Assistant. There's also another option right next to the search bar to access the Research Assistant. Personal preference, I prefer the one that's at the top. So we're going to use that for today's illustration. So once you click on the Research Assistant, it will ask you to log in and you'd go ahead to select Are You Registered Users? And once you log in, it will bring you back to the same page that you were on. I suggest that you just click on the Research Assistant again, and then it will open up. So the Primo AI Research Assistant, what I've realized from previous interactions with it is that it keeps your research history from the previous or the last 7 days. And it also seems that they're still continuing to work on the model because they now allow students to filter by specific dates and by specific resource types. So I'm just going to ask it a question to illustrate for this afternoon session. And the question that I'll be asking it is largely focusing on environmental education. So I'll just type in the question. What is the difference between transgressive learning and transformative learning in the context of environmental education? So once you ask it a question, it will say generating overview from 5 most relevant sources. We often say to our students that those 5 sources that it recommends, those are not the only sources that you can consult or sources that you can make use of. Even though it says 5 most relevant sources, you can still find other relevant or useful sources outside of what it has recommended. So when you ask it a question, what it does is that it brings back the different source suggestions that one can access. And I see one of the professors from the university featuring much in their search results. So the reason why we suggest the AI Primo Research Assistant is because it will bring back credible and trustworthy sources that you can consult or have a look at. So with some of these sources, a disclaimer is that some of the sources, it's things that we have access to or subscribe to as Rhodes University. But some of the sources that it will bring back, it's things that we probably do not have access to. The reason why we will not have access to some of the resources that it recommends is because the Primo AI Research Assistant is set up to search beyond Rhodes University Library. So it searches for resources in other institutions as well. What it also does is that it will give a nice overview of the sources and will have the references or the sources listed next to each of the overviews that it has given as part of the response. So it does that as well. So in order to access the sources that it has recommended, when you click on the source, there'll be an option for more details and request options. Other sources, when you click on them, they'll directly give you the download PDF option. For an example, this book chapter, we clicked on more, and it brought us to the library's website, and it shows that we have access or that this book chapter is available online. So you do the same with other sources as well, just to sort of see whether or not we have access to a resource. So this one also says more details and request options. But it does happen that with some of these searches, it will give you the download PDF option directly from the Primo Research Assistant. You also have the option to explore more results from the library search that you had conducted if you want to look beyond just but the 5 sources that have been recommended to you. So you also have that option. I'll now go back to the library's website where we started. So this was where we started. And in the PowerPoint presentation, we had mentioned the search all option. And apart from the search all option, we had mentioned the access to various important things, which is accessing the subject guides, which is interlibrary loans. So with the subject guides, I'm just going to open those up. And when you click on I want to access my subject guide, you'll then see a list of subject guides in alphabetical order, and you will just need to click on the specific subject guide in order to get access to it. For an example, the computer science subject guide, if you click on it, there'll be different resources that are listed on the guide there. Or if you click on the drama subject guide, there'll be different resources that are listed there and are curated to assist you. So I strongly recommend that you have a look at the subject guides in order to make the most out of the services that the library has to offer. So apart from these options and the book that I had illustrated, you can also do specific searches for journal titles, or you can access them via the eJournals A to Z list, where you can search for a specific journal or for a specific subject. I'm just going to illustrate by typing out anthropology and then running a search, and then all anthropology related journals will appear, and you will be able to access these journals and read them. Where a journal is not available electronically, it will give you the physical location of where we have it in the library. So that is some of the most important things or introductions to the services that the library has to offer. And to also reiterate that whenever you need assistance with your research, please do not hesitate to reach out to your principal librarian in order to get the needed or required assistance. I will now hand over to my colleague Tandiwe.
Thank you, Lusanda. Good afternoon, everyone. I will now share my presentation. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, my name is Tandiwe Menze, and I'm the Principal Faculty Liaison Librarian for Commerce, Pharmacy, and Science, and I am located on level 2 of the library. So as you can see, this is the title of my presentation. I am going to be introducing you to some of the library resources. For the purposes of time, I will keep it very brief. Moving on to the second slide. This is the overview of the presentation. I will not read everything on the screen. The slides will be shared with you, and I will just proceed. This is the purpose of my presentation this afternoon. Firstly, I would like to show you how to navigate the library website and introduce you to links on the library's website. I will demonstrate how to access databases for your research and literature reviews. I will identify some of the relevant databases in order to do a literature search for your research topic. I will also show you how to construct and undertake complex search strategies to make the best use of databases to retrieve relevant material. And finally, I'll show you how to keep up with research by creating alerts. Okay, so this is the library's page. I'm going to begin by showing you links on the search tab. So on that multicolored ribbon, you'll click on the search tab, and I just need to point out a few things that are relevant for postgraduate students. Okay, so these are some of the links that are relevant. I'm going to cherry pick a few and I'll explore certain things. You will see that the links have been shared on the slide. I will share the slides with you so that you'll be able to click on it. But hopefully after this session, you'll know where to find the actual resources on the library's webpage. I'm going to start off by introducing you to electronic journals. This is the browsing platform which harvests all the electronic journals that RU subscribes to. You'll see that on this platform, the journal titles are grouped according to discipline as well as sub-discipline. I will explore one discipline. So we're going into the engineering and technology discipline. So on the center pane, these are all the electronic journal titles that RU subscribes to. I'm now exploring the subdiscipline of nanoscience and nanotechnology. These are all the titles that RU subscribes to under the subdiscipline of nanoscience and nanotechnology. I have taken one title the journal called Applied Nanoscience, you'll see the publication dates on the left-hand side of the screen, and on the center pane, the latest publication will be viewed on the center pane. So you'll see that you'll be able to download the PDF, the thumbnail. You're also able to send citations to your referencing management system. You're also able to save the preferred journal articles, and you're also able to share either with your supervisors or maybe with people within your research group. Okay. I'm moving on to electronic books. I'm just going to briefly highlight, I'm not going to spend too much on these because my colleague has already spoken to electronic books that are accessible through the library's website. I'll also point out that there is a subject guide which deals specifically with electronic books that are available through the RU library. And as you can see on the screen, these are the various publisher platforms where the majority of our books are either bought or subscribed to. So this is an example of the platform where you would search for a title. You would type in the title in the search box. So I'm looking at information security. This is a title of a book. I need to point out that if you want to download the entire book, then you need to have signed in using your RU credentials, as my colleague has highlighted, and the signing in on this particular platform will be on the blue ribbon on the top right-hand corner. So you use your RU credentials. These would be the sign-in credentials that you use when signing into RU Connected. I just need to highlight something. So on some of our databases, with the invention of AI tools, you'll see that there are AI functionalities that you can use on the majority of the databases. And you'll see that on this particular resource, you can use the AI application to explore the book further. So you don't have to read the book from cover to cover, but you can ask the AI tool to point out the synopsis of the book or to point out any key findings. Okay. I will leave you to explore that on your own time. Okay. This is just an example of the Research Assistant tool that is found on eBook Central. Okay, I'm going to move on to electronic theses and dissertations. Now, from Rhodes University, you can find 3 types. Okay, the first is you will have access to the Rhodes University theses and dissertations. You'll see on this platform that the theses and dissertations have been grouped according to faculty, and they are also grouped according to the departments. You would then select the specific thumbnail for your particular department to search within your department's theses and dissertations. This is an example of the second example of theses and dissertations. So we also provide you with links to theses and dissertations to other academic institutions within South Africa. The link has been provided on the search as well as on the particular PowerPoint. The final example of theses and dissertations, we have access to the ProQuest dissertations and theses, which is a database which has the global or international theses and dissertations. So for theses and dissertations that are found across the globe, then you would go on this particular platform. But for those people that are familiar with this platform, you'll see that not all South African universities have uploaded their theses and dissertations on this particular platform. Rhodes being one of them. The universities that I notice that have uploaded their theses and dissertations, that is South African, sorry, that would be UP, Wits, UJ, and sometimes Stellenbosch. So if you would want to get a complete picture of theses and dissertations within South African institutions, then you would have to click on the links that I showed you earlier on the mother institutions. So you would have to go directly to the universities within South Africa for their theses and dissertations. Okay, I'm moving on to searching databases. Now, as my colleague has stated, for those people that are living off campus, remember that when you are searching databases, do be reminded that always log in through Open Athens using your RU credentials so that you can gain full access to the electronic resources that RU subscribes to. In that way, you're going to be recognized as a bona fide Rhodes University student. Okay. Now, there are various formats of accessing databases. Some people are well versed on using the library website, while others still need guidance. So the first way of accessing databases would be going to the databases A to Z platform. Now, this is a complete list in alphabetical format of all the databases that Rhodes University subscribes to. This is helpful if you know the title of the actual database. Now, for those people that want to get maybe a complete picture, then your best bet would be to go through your subject guide, which were pointed earlier by my colleague. So you would go to your subject guides, which are on the library website, and they are listed alphabetically, and they cover all the subjects that are taught here at Rhodes. The subject guides collate all the information resources that includes databases for your particular subjects. Okay, you'll see that the links have been provided. Okay, now this is just tips that I have provided you with. So when doing searches on the databases, especially at your senior level of study, you need to take care to mind the following points. Firstly, you need to use the advanced search option wherever possible, because this gives you more flexibility with search terms. You need to refine your searches using scholarly or peer-reviewed. I will show you an example of a database that has an example of non-peer-reviewed as well as peer-reviewed material, but the majority of our databases have material that have been through the peer-reviewed process. But you need to be mindful that you are indeed selecting that peer-reviewed button. And then furthermore, you need to use inverted commas because these denote a phrase. For example, if you're searching information security or global warming, you would put that in quotation marks because you are instructing your database that you are in fact searching for a phrase, especially when using traditional databases. Now you'll see that with the modern databases that have adopted AI functionalities, you'll see that maybe they are moving away from using traditional models of searching. Okay. Furthermore, you need to use and to combine keywords and phrases to focus your search. For example, China and motion picture, which is a phrase and it's placed in quotation marks, and history. So that's an example of a search string. And then you will also use or inside the brackets in case you are using synonyms or similar terms. For example, artist and, so you have inside the bracket feminism or gender. Okay. And also you need to be mindful to use truncation or wildcards. These help you to expand your searches. For example, you can type in the root term artist, and that will retrieve artist, artists, artistic, or artistically. So you don't have to type in the various formats of the word, but you just type in the root term and everything else will be retrieved. the following example in the case of woman. So you would use a wildcard to retrieve either the singular woman or the plural women. You'd also use truncation in the cases of the different types of spelling. For example, in encyclopedia, so if you're wanting to retrieve results for the American spelling as well as the British spelling, you don't have to type the two different words. You can put in the truncation or the wildcard after the P, and then it will retrieve the relevant or whatever has been indexed in that particular database. This is very important, the final point. It's advised that you don't limit yourself to one favorite database, but in fact, you explore the other databases that might be relevant for your particular subject. Now, if you want to be introduced to other databases that are relevant for your particular subject, you can start off by going through your subject guide, or you can set up an appointment with your principal librarian and they can guide you on how to identify databases that are relevant for your particular subject. Okay. And then once you are used to doing searches on the databases, you also want to be able to set up alerts. Now, the alerts that you're going to set up, these are going to assist you in keeping up with research within your particular topic. If you conduct a search on a database today, you're going to find articles that have already been published. But when keeping up with research within your particular topic, what you're going to do is you're going to create alerts on that particular database, whichever you might prefer. I advise Scopus or Web of Science. Of course, you can create alerts on all of them. But if there is a new publication that's going to come out maybe in a week's time or 1 month from now or even 10 months from now, the database is going to remember that this is your particular field of research and it's going to alert you to that particular publication, depending on the parameters that you set up when creating your alerts. Okay. So there are different types of alerts. So this is the Scopus database. Now you'll see that I'm already logged in. As you can see, my initials on the right-hand side of the screen. On the bottom there, I've given you an example of the type of alerts that you can create. Now you can create keyword search alerts. You can create a document citation alert. A document citation would be an example of, so let's say when you meet with your supervisor and you discuss the area or your focus area that you would like to engage in, and maybe your supervisor might tell you that, okay, maybe there are 1 or 2 seminal articles within that particular research. So what you want to do is you would then want to set up an alert for the seminal articles that your supervisor has identified. This would help you, for example, if maybe there is a publication in Asia or even a publication in the US citing the seminal article, then you'll be alerted that, hey, there's a new publication citing your seminal article, and perhaps that new publication is also relevant to the field of work that you are doing. Next, you also want to create author citation alerts. And the reason you'd want to do that is when you are reading extensively, you'll pick up that within your field of research, there are maybe 3 or 4 prolific researchers who publish more articles or more books within your field of research, or they might also be consulted by other researchers for collaborations. So then you also want to set up alerts for those prolific individuals within your field of study. I would also say that maybe also set up alerts for your supervisor or all the researchers within your particular department or discipline. You can also set up alerts for yourself. This is if you've published a paper. Now, the alerts for an author will give you alerts to new publications citing their work, and the alerts will also be alerting you to new publications by that particular person who has published a new paper. If you've set up an alert for yourself, you will get alerted to other people who are citing your work. Or if you publish a new paper, then you'll also be advised on the new publication. And finally, you also want to set up alerts for journal titles. So remember, I showed you earlier where to find all the journal titles for a particular field. So once you explore that platform and identify maybe 3 or 4 journal titles that are relevant or most relevant to your area of work, then you'll go ahead and set up alerts for those particular titles. So if it is a monthly publication, you'll get alerted. If you set up the alerts today, you'll get alerted to an April table of contents. And if it is a quarterly publication, you'll then receive 4 alerts in a year and on and on. You'll see on this example, you have the option of either deactivating the alerts or editing the keyword if the alerts you are getting are not relevant to your field of research, then maybe you might want to go back and edit the keywords that you used. Or you can simply delete an alert if it's no longer serving you. And you'll see frequency. So on your particular platform, you will decide how often you want to receive alerts. Some people set daily alerts, while others set weekly alerts, and others set monthly alerts. You also decide on the day of the week when you want to receive the alerts. This is your personal space, so you decide how often you wish to receive these alerts. Okay. And then referencing management tools. Now, I do know that when some people arrive here on campus, they've already identified some tools that work for them. But for those people that haven't identified a tool, I would propose that you begin to do so now, especially if you are still starting out in your research journey. You want to identify a tool that you're going to be making use of, because this is going to help you in saving all your citations. When you're doing your write-up, this is either you're writing up your pieces or you are publishing a paper, then you would use your referencing management tool to help you with in-text citation as well as formatting your reference list. If you want to explore this functionality further, please do reach out to your principal faculty librarian and they should be happy to assist you. Okay, this is simply a subject guide which compares the different referencing tools. So if you haven't decided on which tool you would want to use, then I would propose that you begin here to decide which tool you want to explore. Okay, I'm just going to show you additional links that are on the library site. Okay, so these are the various additional links. There is a tab for research support. There are tutorial videos. On the landing page of the library, there is a calendar. And the reason I'm highlighting that is because I'll get back to that. So these are additional links. Okay. Further additional links. My colleague would have alluded to these, but these will be very helpful for your research journey. Okay. Now back to the calendar that I spoke to earlier. The library is engaging in a postgraduate support program. Now, ideally, what this does is on every week during the first term, from Monday to Wednesday, there are different topics which are covered. Now, we do realize that an ordinary workshop does not sufficiently cover everything you're going to need to know for your particular subject. So we have been running workshops for postgraduate students. I've added the link. You are free to you are free to sign up for any of the training sessions. But if you are not able to attend the training sessions, the sessions are being recorded and they are being uploaded on the library's YouTube account so that you can watch at the point of need or on your leisure time. Let me just highlight a few things on the library page. So I'm going to end the presentation and I'm going to go for a hands-on session on the library page. Okay, so this is the library page. The links that I spoke to earlier were on the multicolored ribbon. Click on the search. So this is where all the links. But what I want to do is I want to show you a few things. I'm not going to show everything. I'm just going to highlight a few things. So remember on the library page, as pointed out by my colleague, I'm going to go to under I want to, and I'm going to access a subject guide. Remember, I said that the subject guides collate all the information resources for your particular subject. I'm just going to click on the first one, the accounting guide. The guides are listed alphabetically. But before I go to the accounting guide, I need to point out something. So for those people that are new to Rhodes University, you might want to start off by looking at the new students and staff guide, and that is going to help you with the information you need to know about the library. That would be the opening times for the library. I know students, postgraduate students, are always interested on the closing times, especially now that we're going to be going into the mini VEC. The opening hours are going to change. But anyway, I'm going to leave you to explore that particular subject guide on your own. Now I'm going to go to the accounting subject guide and you see all the tabs. I'm going to go to the find journals data using databases. Okay. The first database that I want to point out is the EBSCOhost database. Now, for the purposes of time, I'm not going to be able to show you everything, so I'm just going to highlight a few things that I want to show you. I need to point out that for starters, EBSCO is not a freestanding database, but it's an aggregator. Okay. So I'm going to click on Academic Search Complete. So we are going to select the databases that we're going to use. We are going to leave Academic Search Complete because it is a multidisciplinary database. I'm going to be doing searches for those students who are in commerce. So I'm also going to leave the Business Source Complete selected, and I'm also going to select Regional Business News. Now, if you just run your eyes up and down, you'll see that there are databases for the different faculties. You'll see that there are databases that deal with humanities. There are also the environmental science databases, as well as Medline, and on. But I'm just selecting 3 databases because I'm going to be focusing on commerce searches. Okay, so remember I said that it's best to use the advanced search. Okay, so I'm going to be starting off. Now I want to look at financial technology within South Africa. So I'm going to be typing in remember when I was showing you the tips for using databases, I said that you want to use Boolean operators and you want to use inverted commas when doing phrase searching. Now, this particular database is one of those modernized databases, so you can get away with a lot on this particular database. And that's why I'm starting with it, because I love using it as a cheat sheet for myself anyway. So there it's telling me financial technology or fintech. In fact, you can come here to find synonyms or similar terms that you can use in the other traditional databases. And I'm going to type in South Africa and I'm going to do my search. So I have a total of 854 results. I haven't set any parameters. We are just exploring. I'm going to go back to the advanced search. I'm going to change the Boolean operator AND to OR. Remember in the PowerPoint, I spoke or alluded to the Boolean operators. So you'll see that the results have expanded. So this is an example of expanding your search results. So we have now landed with 615,000 results. If I go to the advanced and use not, so I'm excluding South Africa in this case. Search. And that is the result. So I'm going to go back to my advanced search and I'm going to explore the limiters. So under publication dates, let's say we're going to select the past 5. And then remember, I pointed out that on this particular database, you will get a collection of peer-reviewed and non-peer-reviewed material. So let's select peer-reviewed and search. So you'll see that my results have significantly gone down. And I'm going to go back to the search parameters. And I need to show you the search options. So I'm going to go to the search options. Under search options, you can search using the smart text functionality or the natural language. So let's say you have decided on the title for your research project. So what you can do is you can select the smart text option and type in your question. So how are South African financial markets regulated? Search. So there it has picked out the keywords and has given you 17,000 results. And it also remembers the parameters that you selected. So it's giving you peer-reviewed articles, and these are from the past 5 years. I'm going back to the advanced option, and I'm now going to use the natural language and search. And you'll see that now I'm down to 174 results. I am going to go back to my advanced option because I want to point out something. So under the subjects, so depending on the databases that you selected here on top, you will have access to the SORI that are uploaded on here. So you'll see that we can use the academic search complete subject terms, and we can also use the business thesaurus. So in the event that you're finding, especially when using the traditional databases, you're finding that the keywords you selected are not yielding much results or very good results, you can come to this EBSCO database and use the thesaurus to find either synonyms or technical terms. For example, if I just select the business thesaurus, and let's say I do an example, maybe I've been using the keyword staff. So here it's telling me that maybe if the keyword staff is not using, perhaps you might want to use employees. So this is an example of how you would use the SORI on this particular database. Okay. So I'm going to leave it at that for EBSCO, and I'm going to move on to another database. I'm going to go back to my subject guide, and I just need to highlight. So I know that the majority of our students and even seasoned researchers will gravitate to Google Scholar when they are starting their searches. I need to highlight that when using Google Scholar, you have to make sure that you are going through the library website, whether you are using that database A to Z list that I pointed out earlier, or you need to make sure that you are going through your subject guide. And the reason for that is because Google Scholar needs to recognize you as belonging to Rhodes University so that you can get access to all the resources that RU subscribes to. So I'm going to click on Google Scholar. This is Google Scholar. So I'm going to do a search. Even when using Google Scholar, I like to use Boolean operators. So you can play around, use ordinary keywords or use Boolean operators to do your search, because you'll see that in that way, the results will be different. Okay. Remember, I spoke about going through the library webpage when you're using Google Scholar. And the reason is now that we are identified as belonging to Rhodes, it has given us access to all the material that RU subscribes to, and these would be the link on the right-hand side of the screen. Okay. I just need to point out that, remember I showed you earlier the referencing management system, well, on the subject guide. If you do decide to use RefWorks, you'll be able to export your citation from Google Scholar into RefWorks, but you would need to have set this up. For those people that are used to using Google Scholar, you'll see that maybe on your search results, you don't see that import into RefWorks. Now I'm just going to quickly show you how you format that. This is something that will be pointed by your principal librarian when you come in for a consultation. Okay. So on the gray ribbon on top, I'm going to click on the menu button, and under settings, under bibliography manager, you're going to show links to import citations, and you're going to select RefWorks, save, and then you should have that import into RefWorks functionality. So that's how you can save your citations seamlessly from Google Scholar. That is if you are choosing to use RefWorks. We are mindful of the fact that other people are comfortable using other referencing management systems. So we do have the skills to train you in whatever tool you prefer. Okay. I'm going to move on to another database. Remember, I pointed out earlier that you can create alerts on the various databases. So I'm going to show you an example of one database. I am mindful of the time, so yes. I'm going to go back. Okay, let me just delete these extra. I am going to go back to the subject guide, and I'm going to look at Scopus. Okay, so it's remembering that I signed in earlier, but this is one of those databases that you would use your RU credentials to sign in. So this is one of those Open Athens databases that you have to log in, but it's remembering that I signed in earlier and it's still keeping my credentials. So I'm just going to do examples of a few searches. So this is my search string. I'm going to be looking at organization or company or corporation. Remember, these are synonyms of each other or similar terms, and they are placed in the bracket. And you'll see that they are also linked by the Boolean operator or, and then after the bracket, and linking economic efficiency, which is a phrase, and search. Okay. I'm just thinking right now, I wonder if economic efficiency has an acronym, because if it did have an acronym, then I would also place that term in a bracket and have economic efficiency in quotation marks and connect it with O and type in the acronym. If it does indeed have an acronym, maybe it would be EE and then do the search. Okay, so I'm not going to speak too much about the other functionalities. I'm just going to focus on creating alerts. So now that you have the results, remember, we have yielded publications that have already been published, but because this is our field of research, or this is what we're going to be working in for the next 2 or 3 years, so you don't want to keep going back to the database and replicating the searches. What you want to do is you want the database to be smart. So if there is a new publication in this particular field of research, then you're going to get alerted that, hey, there might be 1 or 2 publications, and you're going to receive the alert in your inbox. And of course, it will be hyperlinked, taking you back to the database. So now that we have the search, on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to click on Set Search Alert, and it will have the name of the alert. It will use your email address. Again, remember I said you decide on the frequency. So I'm going to leave it at weekly, and you also decide on the day of the week. I also know that I already have this alert, so I'm just going to change it a bit and set alert. So there it is creating an alert. So this is a simple keyword alert. I'm now going to set an alert. Remember, I spoke about your supervisor directing you to a seminal article. So when you've had that meeting with your supervisor and they've identified literature that is relevant to your particular study, you're also going to create alerts for those particular studies. I'm just going to copy and paste one of these titles. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, this is a 1995 publication and it's seminal to my work. So I'm going to go back on the search button. I'm going to place it in inverted commas, and I'm going to search. So there is the article. Remember, we're just pretending it's a 1995 publication. Presently, it says 0, but we'll say maybe there are 10 publications there. So the 10 citations there would be called the citing articles. So it means that these 10 have cited this particular article, and this article would be the cited article, your seminal article. So we're going to create an alert, set alert. It remembers the settings from previously. Of course, you have the option of changing it. This is your own personal space, so nobody has access to this. You can decide how often you receive the alerts and then set the alert. And the next alert is, so I'm going to click on search. So the next alert that we're going to do is we're going to set an alert for either your supervisor or a prolific author or researcher within your field of research. So I'm going to click on authors, and I'm going to set an alert. Okay, I'm going to select a researcher from Rhodes, Prof. Azio Kono. I'm going to type in his initial. I like to have Rhodes University as an institution, and then search alert. Okay, so this is Prof. Aziokono. These are all his publications, and I click the alert. Show documents, and then I set the search alert. So now I'm going to be alerted when he publishes a new paper. I'm going to be alerted when other authors have cited one of his 35 publications, setting the alert. And then finally, remember I spoke when I showed you all the electronic journal titles. So when you have identified the relevant electronic journal titles within your particular field of research, then you're also going to set an alert for them. So I'm going to go to sources. And when you do have a title, you can type in the title of the journal, or we are going to type in a keyword. So let's say, okay, information systems. Okay, let's information systems journal. And just select the journal. And you set an alert, set document alert. So let's say this is a monthly publication. You're going to be alerted to the next publication, the April, and then set alert. Once you've set all your alerts, you're going to go to the bell, which is next to your name, to view all the alerts that you've created. Okay, so these are all the alerts. It tells you which date you set the alert. It tells you the frequency that you selected. And of course, these are the actions. You can edit your alert. So in the case of keyword searches, like the fourth example, you can click on the pencil. So let's say you are not liking the results that you're getting. So you can click edit and change the keywords or add additional keywords, run the search again, and save that alert. So I'm going back to my alerts page. Okay. You also have the option of deleting the alerts that you've created, or you can deactivate the alert. I see the deactivate button has been moved. Previously, it used to be where I have my cursor, but now I see that you have to go to the pencil and then here, make it inactive. So some people maybe prefer not to receive emails during a specific period. Then you can just render your alerts inactive and save. And there it's telling us that it's inactive. So you're not going to receive the next alert, or you can simply delete. And when you want to reactivate the alert, you can follow the same steps and reactivate the alert. Okay, so that is all in terms of choosing alerts. Now, I'm not going to speak too much on other databases because I'm hoping that you will have a look at the training program or the schedule to see when training is going to be done on the different databases so that you can join in. Now, that training session is going to be an hour long for one particular database. So it's going to drill into a particular database and it's going to explore the different functionalities for that particular database. So this session was simply an introductory session to the resources as well as the services that the library provides. I am going to close my screen and I'm not sure. Would you like us to take questions now? I did see a few questions. I'll just bring up the screen. I'm not sure if these have been responded to. Okay, I'm having a look at the questions on the chat. Oh, okay, so my colleague has been answering the questions. Let's just have a look. May I ask which category is water research fall under within these categories? Is it under engineering and applied science category? Oh, are you speaking to the journal titles? Okay, let's simply go back. We can go back. So I'm going to go back to the library tab. And I'm going to go under the multicolored ribbon. Then go to e-journals A to Z. So let's have a look. So one, you can do a search in the search box over there, or you can explore the different disciplines. So let's say we go to Earth and Environmental. We're just exploring. Okay, so you find, okay, so it's not over there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do a search. And then water research. So these are the examples of the journal titles under water research. These are the individual journal titles. Okay, so now I've excluded research and just left it at water. So now I have, so the red folder that tells me that is a subject under the subject of water, air, and soil pollution. So it means that there are additional journal titles within that field. And if you look at water resource management, that is a subject. I'm going to click on that subject. So it's under Earth and Environmental Sciences, under Natural Resources Management, and that is where water resource management is. And those are the other subdisciplines. So these are all the journal titles that the library subscribes to. I just need to go back because I want to point out something on the example. So the ones that are right here on top, this means that the library has access to these. So we have an active subscription. If I scroll to the bottom, these ones mean that the library does not have an active subscription. Now, remember, my colleague spoke to interlibrary loans. So it means that if there is an article that you would want to source from these, then you would have to fill out that interlibrary loan, the interlibrary loan form, so that you can get that particular article. Okay, let me see. Okay, sure. Okay, thank you very much. I see we have 20, so it's 14:20. We only have 10 minutes. I'm not sure if there are other additional questions that people would like to pose. I'm sure that people can unmute themselves and ask a question. Okay. Now that we are speaking on interlibrary loans, I just want to show you an example. So before you even fill out the interlibrary loan form, I need to show you an example. So there are plugins that you can download on your browser. So on my Mozilla Firefox browser, I'm just going to the extension. So you can download the Unpaywall plugin as well as LibKey Nomad. So what these do is if there is an article or two that you would like to source and the article is behind a paywall and RU does not subscribe to it, before you even fill out an interlibrary loan form, these two extensions would have picked up that article and you'll be able to download the full text of the article, even though ARIU does not subscribe to it. Okay, so you might want to download the Unpaywall and LibKinoman. These will be discussed extensively when we do the training sessions for postgraduate students that I spoke to earlier. Okay, I'm going to go back to the library page and point out that you will find the sessions here on the calendar, clicking on show all. So this is the calendar that shows you all the upcoming sessions, and you are free to book for these sessions. Alternatively, if you're not able to attend any of the sessions, you can view the recordings on the library's YouTube channel. Okay, I will end off and give the last few minutes to my colleague Lusanda in case she has something to say. Thank you very much for attending, everyone.
Thank you, Thandiwe. There's not much that I am going to say from my side, but I would just like to remind the students that they are also able to manage their library accounts through the library's website. Thandiwe, I still see you're sharing. May I please ask that you just show them how to sign into their library account for me?
Okay, so I'm back on our library page. I'm going to click on, okay. So the first way would be to go and sign in there on the top right-hand corner. I'm going to show you the second way. So when you're on the library page, if you just scroll, no. Okay. So instead of clicking the top right-hand corner, scroll, go to my library card. ARIU registered users? Yes, okay, it's still recognizing that I signed in earlier. And there. So before I come to this portion, for you as a student, you would have selected student. But because I'm a staff member, I would have selected staff. But it's recognized that I signed in. That's why it let me in automatically. And of course, it's showing me how many loans or how many books I have out on loan. And I can view all the loans on this option. And of course, you don't have to come into the library to renew your books. You can renew them remotely. Okay, so I won't be able to show you an example of renewing it because I still have a while to renew the books, but you would select the books that you want to renew and then renew your books. Okay. And of course, when you have signed in on your profile, it will save all the searches that you do. You'll see that that is my search history. Clicking on it. So these are all the searches that I've conducted. These would be searches I've done for when delivering workshops, which I'll have to go and clear. I'll do that at a later stage. But of course, you can clear your search history or you can retain it. As a disclaimer, I just need to point out that I don't actually owe 160. I've noticed that there's actually a glitch on the system. When I did an interlibrary loan for articles, it charged me 30 Rand. In fact, it's only supposed to charge you 30 Rand when you're ordering a book, because then you're paying for the admin fees. For articles, that should be free of charge. So that's an issue I need to resolve with our technical team. As a disclaimer, I don't actually owe 160 rands. Okay. Is that all, Lusanda?
Yes, that is all, Thandiwe. Thank you very much for showing it to the students.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Are there any questions? I'll just log out of that. Okay. Okay, thank you. Goodbye from my end.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Right, thank you very much. May I ask, Sis Vuyelwa, how does a
Yes.
person know who is their designated librarian?
Okay, sure. So whilst we are on our library page, you can just click on schedule an appointment. So select Rhodes University Library. Okay, so it's going to bring up your faculty. So I'm going to select mine, Commerce, Science, and Pharmacy. And these are all the staff members who are responsible for the particular team, the faculty liaison team. Under Humanities, Education, and Law, this is a list of everyone that is servicing the faculties of Humanity, Education, and Law. Okay. So for postgraduate students, there is a digital scholarship librarian, and her name is Tobilem Tetwa, and she is stationed in the postgraduate commons, which is on ground zero of the library. So this is how you would find the people who are responsible for your particular faculty teams. Does this answer you?
Yes, very much noted. Thank you very, very much for that.
Okay, sure. Okay, I see that there are still 2 minutes. We'll stay on in case there are any questions, but at exactly 10:30, then we'll log off. Okay, I'll keep quiet now, and if my colleague has anything to say, I'll hand over to her.
All right, may I maybe just ask for this last 2 minutes, Sophia?
Yes.
It's my first time having this session. I've missed some of them because I wasn't really much aware of the process. So can you just guide me? So for instance, if one is doing a postgrad, I mean, I'm not in campus, it's full dissertation. So is the requirement that the research report I'm working on, I should also be uploading it on the library? Because I saw that you were talking about alerts. So am I supposed to be working on it on the library itself?
Oh, are you talking about the thesis when you have completed your thesis?
Well, I'm still in the process of writing. So as I am writing different chapters and sections, is the requirement that I should create a project on the library and keep updating that project as my research, as my thesis?
Okay, so some people, if you are going to be collecting research data, then you will approach your faculty liaison librarian to assist you in uploading the research data. And let me just, yes. So that would be at this stage of your research. Let me just go back to the library page. In fact, we are going to have sessions or training sessions on research data. I'm just going to go there. So on the Rhodes Digital Commons, there's the research data. So when you are collecting your data, you will then be assisted on uploading your data on Figshare. But I would suggest that you discuss this with your supervisor, because I do know that some supervisors have concerns about making research data available, especially if you plan to publish your work. Because I know that if the research data is available for everyone to see, there are in fact other people who are using your research data to publish publications, even though they haven't collected the data. So you just be mindful that this is something you need to discuss with your researcher. So you can set parameters that even if you upload your research data on this platform, there might be an embargo so that it's not available to some people. That is, yes, on your research journey. And when you reach the stage where you're going to be submitting your thesis, you are also going to be required to submit a soft copy of your thesis to the library. But that is something that's going to be in the documentation that you're going to fill out during the examination period, you're going to be directed to that documentation. Okay, let me just point it out to you.
All right.
If I go to, no, I know it's here. Under thesis and dissertations. So the thesis final submission form. But the research office as well as the student bureau will direct you as to this final stage of your research project.
Right. That's very much well noted. Thank you so much. It's very
Yes,
clear.
when you're
Thanks.
submitting your thesis, okay. Oh, okay. I see that we are past half past. I'm not sure if the staff at the CPGS are still on. So I'm simply going to
Yes, I'm
log
still here.
out. Oh, okay, sure, Sissy. Will you please direct us as to what you'd like us to do? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mama. I've already received your presentation slides. So what I will do is send it to the participants, if you would allow me, and also attach the evaluation form link.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
very
much. But I
much.
won't do it
Thank
here. I will do it in their email addresses. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Okay, thank you for having us. Thank you, bye-bye. I am logging off now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.